So, hello and welcome to my presentation based on my dissertation surrounding the receptions of nonverbal communication using the relaxed model. So, within this presentation, we're going to look at some of the background, the hypothesis, the methodology, findings, discussion, real-life application, and where it is possible to do future research. So you might be asking yourself, what is nonverbal communication? Well, nonverbal communication is defined as messages conveyed by body movements such as facial expressions, eye contact, posture, and gestures. So, for example, with facial expressions, it might be a smirk, a smile, to a frown and turning red, to eye contact, which you could be looking up, you could be looking down, you could be looking away from the person, to posture where you're slouching over, standing up straight, sitting, to gestures, you could be pointing with your hands, using your hands to talk about different things. So nonverbal communication is used in everyday life, and it actually equates to 60 to 90% of any interaction, which shows the importance of being aware of nonverbal communication and how you are perceived by other people. So we are next going to talk about the therapeutic relationship. The therapeutic relationship is between a counsellor and a client who work together collaboratively to achieve common goals that they have put in practice since the first session. When they have a stronger therapeutic alliance and the relationship is stronger, it's usually a strong predictive factor of the output of the client. So therefore, a stronger therapeutic relationship will mean a better outcome for the client overall. So, you might be asking yourself, how does nonverbal communication link into a therapeutic relationship? Well, as I said earlier, the nonverbal communication in every interaction is 60 to 90%. So, within a counselling session, a lot of nonverbal communication happens. So, this is counselor's nonverbal communication as well as the client's nonverbal communication. The counsellor will look at the client's nonverbal communication and see if their verbal communication is holding up with what their nonverbal communication is portraying, and if it's something different, trying to explore this within the session. Similarly, the client will also look towards the counsellor and ask themselves questions like, can I trust this person? How are they reacting to me? Is the counsellor listening to me? Are they understood? Loads more questions to see how the counsellor is reacting to them. And the client will get this from their verbal communication as well as their non-verbal communication. So this could be for the counsellor nodding their head and continuing the session with open posture and minimizing their facial expressions. So you may be asking yourself, if you already have SOLER and SURETY, why would we introduce a new model? Well, we're building upon the previous models of SOLER and SURETY, and we're also bringing in new research from a range of different research papers surrounding nonverbal communication. We also wanted something that was counselling specific. So because the other models were built for other healthcare professionals such as nursing, we wanted to hone in on something that was counselling specific and wanted to research it all together. So that we wanted to put the relaxed model all together to see the differences in between non-relaxed and relaxed. Other research focuses on like eye contact or trunk leaning and is very limited to usually just one or two of the non-verbal communications within counselling, whereas we wanted to give a holistic approach. So, you introducing the new non-verbal model, relaxed. So, relaxed model, the acronym is quite easy to remember, and also it reminds you to be relaxed within a counselling session, but it also stands for reflective posture, eye contact being maintained, leaning slightly forward, arms open, eye forward, which is basically a sword-shaped expression, extra movements minimized, and distractions ignored. So our hypothesis will be there'll be a higher score for empathy for counsellors displaying the relaxed model compared to counsellors displayed a non-relaxed model. Similarly, there will be a higher score for understanding the counsellors displaying the relaxed position compared to the counsellors displaying the non-relaxed position. Again, similarly, there will be a higher score for willingness to be counselled in the relaxed condition compared to the non-relaxed condition. So you're probably thinking, how are we going to put non-verbal communication in a counsellor setting, and how are we going to look at the therapeutic alliance? Well, let me tell you. So first, we looked at having to get ethics approval. When this ethics approval was granted from the Sports Science and Psychology School, we looked at recruitment. So we posted it onto Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram forums. And then also we uploaded it to SOLER. SOLER is connected to the Sports Science and Psychology School. This is where people can become participants to gain credits for their school. This is the only time anyone will receive anything from completing the study. So with how we did the study, we had it on an online survey. So firstly, they would be asked demographics such as age, gender, whether they had any experience being a client or a counsellor. So this is if they're a trainee, if they're on placement, that type of questions. We then moved on to a video experiment where there would be shown 12 videos, which I'll get onto on the next slide. There was also a photo experiment, which we're not looking at in this presentation. So let's look at the video experiment. The video experiment had two conditions, one being a female counsellor, the other one being a male counsellor. These would be portrayed in videos with the same counsellor wearing the same clothes on the same day. So there's a lot of videos recorded all at the same time. Within these conditions, they would be randomly allocated to a participant. A participant would then have 12 videos to watch with the same counsellor, whether it's female or male. They would then watch these videos and then rate them for a Likert scale. The videos consisted of 12 different conditions. So one condition was relaxed, another one was non-relaxed, and then everything in between. So R, E, L, A, X, E, D, as well as touch and cross-sitting, as well as square-sitting. The Likert scale that they measured was strongly agree to disagree. This was whether they found the counsellor to be empathetic, understanding, and willingness to be counselled by this individual. As the conditions were the same throughout, this was a repeated measures design because the same participant was answering whether it was a non-relaxed male or a relaxed male, and all the conditions in between. So we're now on the results section. The results section is going to be split into two bits. So this slide being the descriptive statistics, and then we'll move on to looking at the video data in three different sections. So we did have 102 participants, however the data was uncompleted with some participants, which left us with 57. We had a good age range between 18 to 71. However, 34 of these participants were 18 to 22, which could be due to a SOLER where we had to upload it, as most of those participants will be in the university age of 18 to 22. So we might have to look at trying to bridge that gap to the wider population and just being applicable to 18 to 22-year-olds. We also noted that there's 11 males and 43 females. We also had 3 that is other. I said put them in other because they put themselves as male and then woman and then female and then male, as a man, sorry. And then the other prefer not to say. So with the second section, we're going to look at the video experiment analysis and what came out of it. So willingness to be counselled, we're going to start off with first. And we're going to look at non-relaxed female versus relaxed female first. So this shows a large effect size, which is very significant, with a 0, 0, 1, 1 tail test and 2 tail test. The effect size is 0.81. Similarly to relaxed male versus non-relaxed male, this is also significant. And then you have a smaller to moderate effect size of 0.33. The relaxed female versus relaxed male shows no significance, with a really small effect size of 0.05. This suggests that if they're in the relaxed conditions, then whether they're female or male, there'll be no difference in how they're perceived when it comes to willingness to be counselled. And then we have non-relaxed female versus non-relaxed male, which shows a significant effect, which shows that there's a difference between how a male and a female is perceived when they are in the non-relaxed conditions. So the next stage is understanding. Understanding is similar to willingness to be counselled, so let's get into it. So non-relaxed female versus relaxed female shows a large significance, with the effect size being around the same as willingness to be counselled, where it's 0.8. And then we'll move on to non-relaxed male versus relaxed male, which shows a moderate effect size, which is 0.38, and also being significant. Between the relaxed female versus relaxed male, there is no significance, with a very small effect size being 0.16. And then we have non-relaxed male versus non-relaxed female, which shows a 0.35 effect size, which is small to moderate effect. This is also significance, but this also shows that there's a difference between how females and males are perceived when they're in the non-relaxed conditions compared to when they are in the relaxed positions, where yes, there is a small effect when they are in the relaxed conditions, however they are pretty much seen as the same. So we are now going to look at empathy between the non-relaxed and relaxed conditions. So non-relaxed females versus relaxed females shows a large significance again, with a 0.81 effect size. Non-relaxed males versus relaxed males show a 0.4 effect size, which is moderate. This is also the biggest number we've seen with the non-relaxed male versus relaxed male. This is also significant. So then we have the relaxed male versus the relaxed female, which shows a very small effect size of 0.04 and shows no significance between the two conditions, which suggests that there's no differences between how they're perceived. Similarly, non-relaxed male versus non-relaxed female shows a small to moderate significance with an effect size of 0.36, which is similar effect size to the rest of them underneath willingness to be counselled and understanding. This also suggests that there is a difference between how males and females are perceived when they're not in the relaxed condition. So there is real life application to using the relaxed model, as it supports previous nonverbal communication within a counselling setting, and it supports existing models that are already used within a counselling setting, so SOLER and SURETY. So the relaxed model can be used within a counselling room. and it can be used within training. So we have the trainees be more aware of how they're perceived in a counselling setting towards clients. Does gender stereotypes have any say within counselling, and how does these stereotypes affect the perceptions of someone? Well, this was originally seen within the data, so there was a bigger effect on non-relaxed females to relaxed females compared to non-relaxed males to relaxed males. And then this was also seen in non-relaxed females to non-relaxed males because there was a significant difference between them, whether it was small to moderate, and sometimes it showed a significance level. So is this due to society expectations of females in society being labelled as more nurturing, understanding and loving, whereas the males are usually seen as more protectors and like dominating and had more leading roles? Also, there's maybe an imbalance between the data between the females and males, but also does this reflect on how the media is when it comes to these stereotypes and reinforcing them? And another part of it is because the counselling remit has more females than males, does this also affect the data? Because more females are seen in the counselling role than males. So one of the limitations is the sample size. So with the sample size being smaller, then we first did a G-force test. A G-force test said that we should have 128 participants for it to be effective. And we also recognise that it's a smaller sample than that. So it does not reflect the wider population. And it also leans more towards the female population and those who are in university aged between 18 and 22. So would it be able to be generalised to the 18 to 22-year-olds because of how small it is? So despite the limitations, the model itself has real merit in the real world. There should be more research done on this, so there's more of an age coverage, but also so the male and female imbalance can be balanced. And also it would be good as we're moving on to more technology-based like online therapy. It would be good to see how this model can be used in an online forum and what could be done if it needed to be applied to other cultures. So in conclusion, the relaxed model has a significant effect on the way that empathy is shown, understanding, and willingness to be counselled by this individual. There is obviously differences between how a female and a male is perceived, and this could be explored more using the model, especially on a bigger scale. And more research needs to be done to see if it's actually more generalisable to the population. So what I didn't expect from the research was to have the differences between the levels of significance when it comes to the relaxed model between males and females. And it was really interesting to explore the ideas of why it could be that way. And it found me wondering how it could be also used in the real world, and how there is quite a difference between how males are perceived than females and vice versa. So that was a really interesting thing to look at, but also that nonverbal communication actually affects every part of life. I also wanted to say thank you for watching, and the references are on the next slide. So in the next few slides are going through our references. So I will stay on it for about 10 seconds each slide, and then I'll click on to the next one. So this is the second and the last final slide of my references. I just want to say thank you again for watching, and I hope you have learnt something from it.